American comic mutant. Lao Wan said I was too extreme. Chapter 46. Looking at the trembling Huey. Charlotte thought that his words were not taken seriously. After looking around at the soldiers of the water group around him, Charlotte nodded slowly. Got it, it seems that he needs to show some strength. With this thought, Charlotte activated the ability of vector operation. In a moment, all the soldiers around him died with their brains exploded. After seeing the effect he made, Charlotte nodded with satisfaction and turned his eyes to Huey again. So now, can we talk about cooperation? Looking at Charlotte's calm face, Huey was almost scared to death. The bloody scene around was simply a scene that would only appear in nightmares. However, although she was extremely afraid, but Huey was also very clear. If she wanted to survive now, there was only one way. That was to nod. She did the same. Sir, it's a pleasure to work with you. Looking at the wise Huey, Charlotte nodded with satisfaction. Sure enough, no matter which world it is, only by showing strength can you win respect. And Charlotte's strength can undoubtedly gain greater respect in this world. This is really great. He began to like this world a little. This is a world where he can do whatever he wants. There were a lot of people when they came. When they left, there were only Huey and Charlotte. Huey drove the car, and Charlotte sat in the co-pilot. The two rushed to the water group building in Kansas. On the way, Charlotte looked at the surrounding scenery with interest. In the last world, he was thinking about becoming stronger. He didn't experience life well. This world must be enjoyed to the fullest. With this thought, Charlotte looked at Huey. Only then did he realize that Huey was actually quite graceful. Especially the pair of long legs in black stockings. Round and full of flesh. I don't know how it feels. Charlotte is a man with strong action ability. If he has an idea, he will implement it immediately. So soon, he put his hand on Huey's thigh. Feeling Charlotte's movements, Huey was so scared that she almost cried out. She was afraid that she would be killed by Charlotte if she was not careful. After realizing that Charlotte was just taking advantage of her, she was relieved. With the power shown by Charlotte, let alone being taken advantage of. Even if he asked her to do that directly, she would not dare to refuse. Fortunately, Charlotte just had a good time and let her go soon. Business is important. Moreover, with Charlotte's understanding of this world, if nothing unexpected happens, his life in this world should be very happy. It took half an hour to arrive at the water building. Charlotte followed Huey and went directly to the top of the building. Because too many people died in this operation, Huey needed to report the matter first. And Charlotte was very considerate and let Huey enter the office alone. Anyway, in front of his supervision and super hearing. No matter where Huey hid, she could not avoid Charlotte's perception. The office is the office. While Charlotte was admiring the luxurious decoration around him, Huey was urgently calling her boss on an encrypted phone. Huh. Huey. You should know that I usually sleep at this time. If it's not something particularly important, I think you should know what the consequences will be if you disturb me. Listening to the arrogant voice from the other end of the phone, Huey almost wanted to curse. Old witch, you took a beauty sleep again, do you know that I almost died? Although I complained 1,000 times in my heart. However, she still answered from the bottom of her heart, Dear Ms. Madeline, there is something I must tell you. Just now, a superpower fell on a farm in Kansas. And his ability is highly similar to that of the Homelander. He can emit lasers and has the ability to fly. In addition, he also has some invisible, large-scale killing capabilities. He killed more than 60 company combat personnel and the Guardian of Kansas, our second-tier superhero, Speed Lightning, in front of me before. And all this happened in an instant. Hearing this. On the other side, Madeline Stillwell, who was enjoying a wonderful upper-class life on the top floor of the water building at the New York City headquarters, couldn't help but sit up straight. Are you sure? You didn't lie to me. Don't blame Madeline Stillwell for this such a big reaction. Mainly because the information that Huey said was too scary. If she didn't know clearly where the Homelander was now, she almost thought that the superpower person in Kansas was the Homelander. Mainly because the abilities were too similar. Madam, I guarantee with everything I have that everything I said is true. Besides, that superpower person is right next to me now. He said he wanted to discuss cooperation with our water company. Hearing this, Madeline Stillwell raised her eyebrows with interest. Cooperation. This is quite interesting. You should first ask what kind of cooperation it is. If he is really as powerful as you said, cooperation is not a bad idea, right? Huni almost couldn't hold it back. It wasn't you who was almost killed. Let me talk about cooperation with that evil star. I think you want me to die. However, even so, Huni didn't dare to say these words. I can only say euphemistically, he is definitely very powerful, at least stronger than most of the 7 members. At this level, I am worried that I will not be able to handle it well. Now, Huni just wants to throw away Charlotte, the hot potato. She doesn't want to keep it in her hands at all. However, Madeline Stillwell didn't give her a chance to refuse. She said directly and decisively, don't say so much, it's settled. If you can't do it well, then I will change someone who can do it well. That's it, deal with him, hang up. After saying that, Madeline Stillwell hung up the phone in her hand. Listening to the dead tone coming from the other end of the phone, Huni was dumbfounded. In the end, she could only take a deep breath helplessly. Taking difficult steps, she wanted to try to talk to Charlotte. However, when she left the office, she found that Charlotte, who was supposed to be watching the decoration, disappeared quietly. Where did he go? Huni didn't know about this question. But Madeline Stillwell knew. Because, just outside the French window opposite her, Charlotte was floating in the air and staring at her. For Charlotte, since it was a cooperation, the higher the level, the better. So, after Huey contacted Madeline Stillwell, Charlotte followed the voice and came over. It took a total of 3 minutes to cross the long distance from Kansas to New York. Looking at Charlotte, who suddenly appeared outside the window, Madeline, the vice president of Water Group, couldn't help but stand up from the recliner. Looking at Charlotte, who was floating in the air, she suddenly felt like she was facing her motherland. Without waiting for her to react, Charlotte shot out heat rays directly. Cut off the entire floor-to-ceiling window glass directly. After revealing a circular hole that could easily allow her to enter. Charlotte flew in. And finally, stood in front of Madeline. Hello, Ms. Madeline. Don't worry, I'm here to discuss cooperation with you. Madeline heard this and didn't comment. But her heartbeat was constantly accelerating. At this time, the oppression that Charlotte brought to her was even greater than when she faced her motherland. Madeline was indeed afraid of her motherland. But she knew her motherland to some extent. So she knew it in her heart. On the contrary, Charlotte knew nothing about Charlotte, and if there was a conflict, I don't even know how to beg for mercy. However, since Charlotte came here to talk about cooperation, that's another matter. Cooperation. Of course. I will arrange professionals to cooperate with you and help you build your reputation as quickly as possible. Or, how about letting you join the 7? The 7 are just selecting, and your ability is very suitable. Madeline now just wants to appease Charlotte and wait for the return of Homelander. As long as Homelander comes, she can rest assured. However, what Charlotte said can be done is not to be a ridiculous superhero. What he wants is to be a super villain. The 7. No, I don't want to be a super actor. In fact, what I mean is that a perfect story needs a villain, right? The 7 are indeed very popular, but they still have flaws. Guess what they are missing? Missing me, missing a powerful, cruel, evil villain. Great superheroes are all created by villains. How can a superhero who has never defeated a villain deserve the word great? Don't you think so? Charlotte's words made Madeline's eyes light up. Because what Charlotte said perfectly fits her philosophy. In fact, the Vought group has already begun to arrange villains for superheroes. They secretly created many superhumans in other places. And they plan to use these superhumans to highlight the necessity of superheroes. It's just that the Homelander is too powerful. In front of the Homelander, other superhumans don't feel oppressive at all. It is almost impossible to create a villain who makes the people of the motherland feel painful. However, the appearance of Charlotte gave Madeline hope. If it is Charlotte, perhaps, he can really be a good villain. But why? Madeline has a good relationship with the people of the motherland. She understands all the needs of the people of the motherland. However, she does not understand Charlotte. She does not know what Charlotte wants at all. Fame. Prestige. If it is these, Charlotte will not choose to be a villain. Instead, he will directly debut as a superhero. Charlotte wants to be a villain so much, what is he after? Madeline could not think of an answer to this question, so she simply asked this question. After thinking about it, Charlotte did not hide it. He simply answered, I hope the world is afraid of me. Hearing this answer, Madeline's heartbeat accelerated a lot. She realized that the man in front of her was a lunatic. But lunatics are the scariest. People dare not refuse. Otherwise, who knows if their brains will still be there in the next second. So in the end, Madeline could only nod. Okay, I agree to the cooperation you mentioned, but I still need to ask the opinions of my countrymen. I will try my best to facilitate this, but I can't guarantee that my countrymen will agree. Charlotte didn't care about it. Based on his understanding of Azu. Azu will definitely agree. Because Azu can't refuse this proposal that can make him greater. Wait for your good news. Charlotte didn't stay any longer, and after saying the last sentence to Madeline, he flew out of the building. Then, with a burst of breaking air, he quickly disappeared into the distant sky. Until Charlotte left completely. Madeline really relaxed. Even her breathing became much heavier. At the same time, there was also a look in her eyes. Some shadows. This guy who wants to be a villain. Where the hell did he come from? Oh, really? Someone voluntarily chooses to be a villain. Ha, there is such a thing. After learning about the cooperation that Charlotte mentioned from Madeline, the Homelander could not help but show an interested look. And Madeline also echoed, yes, but I think that person is unreliable, he is too crazy. The Homelander did not care about this. What's wrong with madness? Anyway, it's not like Charlotte is going to be a superhero. Moreover, from the perspective of a big villain, madness is actually an advantage. A crazy superhuman, this is simply the chosen big villain. Promise him, and then arrange it as soon as possible. I can't wait to have an epic fight with this villain. When the time comes, I will defeat this vicious madman after a difficult battle and save our world. I will become an unprecedented great hero, and everyone will love me. And you, with my support, you will become the most noble woman in the world. Hearing this, Madeline was also a little excited. Above thousands of people, stepping on the whole world. Isn't this what she has been looking forward to all along? However, in addition to excitement, there is still some uneasiness in Madeline's heart. The strength shown by Charlotte does not look like it can be easily defeated by the motherland. Of course, Madeline will definitely not say this directly. If this is said, Azu will definitely be furious. Forget it, let others worry about it. Moreover, with the strength of the motherland, is there really anyone who can defeat it? Madeline couldn't imagine the scene of Homelander being defeated. Thinking of this, she felt stable again. As long as Homelander always ensures that it has the strongest force, then, her position will be absolutely stable. After getting the consent of Homelander and the president of Warden Group, Madeline also took action quickly. Contacted Huey and asked Huey to inform Charlotte. Cooperation was reached. At the same time, Charlotte's first mission has also been issued. Looking at the script sent by the Water Group in his hand, Charlotte showed an inexplicable expression. To be honest, this script is extremely old-fashioned. According to the script, Charlotte is a superhuman who was abused by his original family. After being abused and mentally abnormal, he gradually became a madman. And vowed to destroy everything in the world. And his first appearance was to attack a large shopping mall. When Charlotte was about to kill everyone in the mall, Homelander arrived and defeated him. After that, it was just the boring Batman routine. Catch and release and catch again. To sum it up, there are 3 words, it's messed up. Boring plot. Charlotte threw the script away. Then, he came to the French window and looked at the world outside. Meanwhile, Huey, who was standing by, quickly picked up the script and said to Charlotte, calm down, Mr. Calm down. Even if you have questions about the plot, we can discuss changes. Don't do anything radical. Facing Huey's persuasion, Charlotte showed a grandfather-like smile. He replied, no need, I have a better idea than the script. After that, Charlotte shattered the French window in front of him. Then, he disappeared in front of Huey in a flash. Seeing this, Huey was almost desperate. He was really a lunatic, and he couldn't be controlled at all. Then, Huni quickly sent a message to Madeline. Tell her that Charlotte was out of control. The Destroyer. Charlotte's nickname. Different from other superheroes in this world. His name, at a glance, showed that he was a villain. And Charlotte also intends to make the most of his nickname. Naturally, he can't look down on the script created by the Water Group. Too conservative. Not satisfying at all. It's more appropriate to follow Charlotte's own ideas. With this idea, Charlotte flew into the air. Supervision was fully activated at this moment. Searching for a stage suitable for his first appearance. Soon, Charlotte found a suitable one. Without hesitation, Charlotte dived and rushed directly to the stage. At the same time, in New York, the headquarters building of the Water Group, Madeline found Homelander and said to him, "The Destroyer is out of control and he is out of our control. Now, no one knows where the Destroyer will attack. We must find a way to find him, otherwise things will easily go beyond our control." Faced with this problem, Homelander was unmoved. He said, "It doesn't matter, let him make a scene. Anyway, the more he makes a scene, the better the effect of my appearance at the end. I hope he can be stronger and not be killed in a few moves. I still expect him to set off me a few more times." Homelander doesn't care what Charlotte is going to do. He just needs to show up as a superhero and save the world when Charlotte is destroying it. Looking at Homelander's conceited look, Madeline always feels that Homelander is going to fall. The Seven. The most famous superhero group in the Vought group today. Each of the 7 superheroes has super high popularity and a huge fan base. It can be said that it is the face of the Vought group. It is also the position that all superhumans dream of. However, with the retirement of one of the 7, the Lamplighter, a position has been vacated in the 7. In order to fill the vacancy of the Lamplighter, the Water Group held a super large talent show across the entire America and planned to select a member of the 7 through this talent show. This super large talent show attracted countless attention. It is no exaggeration to say that people all over the world are looking forward to the birth of the new 7. And those superheroes are also gearing up. Want to stand out from this talent show and become a member of the 7. Once you become a member of the 7, you can not only gain a lofty status, you can also get countless money and fame. It is a step to the sky. And in Los Angeles, in a super large stadium, a talent show between superheroes is in progress. As another superhero takes the stage, promotes his own ideas and shows his own strength, the audience around him gave enthusiastic calls. In the backstage, watching the starlight of this scene, secretly cheering himself up. Because soon, it was her turn to perform. Sure enough, it didn't take long. The host on the stage called out Xingguang's name. After hearing her name, Xingguang also restrained her distracting thoughts. With a specially practiced, sweet and friendly smile, she planned to perform on stage. As a result, at this moment, bursts of sonic boom suddenly came from above the gymnasium. When Xingguang looked up, she saw a superhero she had never heard of falling from the sky. The person who came was Charlotte. At a speed of more than Mach 10, Charlotte quickly arrived in Los Angeles and accurately hovered in the air 50 centimeters above the ground. Seeing Charlotte's gorgeous entrance, the audience around were all excited. Each one was so excited that they wanted to jump up. Even the host on the side was a little confused. No, who is this guy? According to the plot, shouldn't the starlight appearing on the stage be a pretty and romantic girl? Why did a muscular man suddenly appear? Although puzzled, the host still stepped forward and handed the microphone to Charlotte due to his professional ethics. And said, "Hey, man, your appearance is really cool. But now, you have to say hello to the audience first." Charlotte took the microphone with a nuclear kind smile on his face. Then he said, "I am the Destroyer who destroys the world." Ah! The host was stunned. "No, you are a superhero, and you are called a Destroyer. Is this reasonable?" But thinking of superheroes, they all have unique personalities. The host was too lazy to care. Then the process continued. Okay, Mr. Destroyer. Then, you can talk about your own ideas. Usually in this link, superheroes will say a lot of positive words. For example, uphold justice, save the world, or just play a bit of pity. However, what stands out about Charlotte is that he doesn't follow the usual path. He said loudly in front of tens of thousands of live audiences and countless live broadcast viewers, "My philosophy. My philosophy is to destroy the world. Of course, that's what I'm going to do later. And now, I just want to kill everyone present." Hearing Charlotte's words, the host was completely stunned. On the contrary, the audience at the scene has not yet realized the seriousness of the matter. They are still cheering for Charlotte's novel ideas. Only Xingguang, she suddenly had a very ominous premonition in her heart. Sure enough, the next moment, the premonition came true. Charlotte's eyes gradually turned into a terrifying red. Seeing Charlotte's eyes gradually turn red, Xingguang's heart immediately skipped a beat. However, she hadn't shouted out her warning yet. Two dazzling red lights shot directly through the host's head. The host didn't understand why he was killed until his death. After killing the host, the other audience members at the scene were also dumbfounded. Originally thought that Charlotte's previous declaration was just a joke. But, brother, you are serious. Of course it's real, Charlotte only plays with reality. After killing the host with heat rays, he didn't stop his actions. Turned the heat rays in his eyes and aimed them directly at other audience members. A tragic massacre began. As more and more people died, the audience at the scene completely exploded. Screaming, running outside like crazy, or kneeling on the ground, begging superheroes for help. However, those so-called superheroes, when Charlotte was killing people, they did not dare to rush up to stop her. Instead, they kept running away. The superheroes in this world are not the kind in the American comics world. The superheroes in this world are all packaged scums. Smoking marijuana and having parties with women. Superheroes are good at this kind of thing. However, they really don't dare to fight against a terrifying super-villain like Charlotte. Only Xingguang, and only her. She still has justice and kindness in her heart. After seeing Charlotte's crazy massacre, she did not choose to escape, but grabbed the exposed wires nearby. Then she frantically absorbed the electrical energy into her body. When the charge was almost complete, Xingguang opened her eyes and roared and flew directly towards Charlotte. She was the only one who went against the flow. When everyone else was running away, only she had the courage to rush towards Charlotte. But, it was just courage. Courage without strength is as funny as a joke. Just when Xingguang flew to Charlotte and wanted to knock Charlotte away, Charlotte stretched out a hand without looking back and grabbed Xingguang's neck directly. She lifted herself in the air. Feeling the huge pressure on her neck, Xingguang struggled hard. However, Charlotte's hand was more perverted than hydraulic pliers. She couldn't shake it at all. In desperation, Xingguang could only burst out all the energy in her body. Turned into a bright yellow light and rushed towards Charlotte. Intended to use this method to force Charlotte to let go of herself. But, what made Xingguang desperate was, Charlotte was too lazy to hide. Let this bright yellow energy hit her. But, she was unharmed. Even the corner of Charlotte's clothes was not broken. From Charlotte's biological perspective, he may not be able to pull a planet directly like a real Superman and prevent it from collapsing. However, it is still no problem to just defend against Xingguang's attack. He ignored Xingguang's anger and struggle. Charlotte continued to harvest lives. However, he deliberately avoided those reporters and live broadcast equipment. In this way, what he did could be seen by the whole world at the first time. After waiting for a while, Charlotte then turned his attention to Xingguang. At this time, Xingguang had rolled his eyes due to lack of oxygen. Charlotte snorted disdainfully. Then he swung his hand and smashed Xingguang hard on the stage. The huge stage was directly smashed down by Xingguang's body. As a result, Xingguang was also shocked by the reaction force and vomited blood. After struggling for a few times to no avail, Xingguang simply fainted. Instant kill. Headquarters of the Water Group. Vice President Madeline, anxiously holding her phone, waited for the arrival of her countrymen. At the same time, she kept saying, "Madman, what a madman. Oh my God, how could he do this? He is against the whole world, against America." As early as after hearing the news of Charlotte's loss of control from Huni, she had already realized that something big was going to happen. But she never expected this matter would be so big. Charlotte would be so crazy. He did not attack any shopping malls, or hijack some buses on the street. Instead, he rushed directly into the Los Angeles Stadium and declared war on the entire human social system in front of the global media. This behavior was far beyond the control of the Water Group. Even beyond the limits of Madeline's imagination. No one has ever done this like Charlotte. Never. Just when Madeline Lynn was so scared that her face was losing more and more blood. Suddenly, there was a sound of breaking through the air. Then, the Homelander appeared in front of her. Without waiting for Madeline to speak, the Homelander said, "I have understood the situation. Don't worry, I know what to do. I have to say that our villain did a great job. He did what I wanted to do but didn't choose to do. Maybe after the performance, I will treat him to a drink." Unlike Madeline, who was terrified by what Charlotte did, the Homelander admired what Charlotte did. Really, it was great. The declaration that I am the only one who can overthrow the whole world by myself. It really fits the aesthetics of the Homelander. If it weren't for the Homelander, he would need fame and fortune. He wanted to be a Charlotte. In addition, there is the impact caused by Charlotte's incident. The more brutal he behaves, the greater the damage he creates, and the greater the fear he brings to people's minds. Then, as a hero, Homelander can be greater and brighter. It is no exaggeration to say that the number of fans that Homelander will get this time will far exceed any time before. With this expectation, Homelander set off without hesitation. And in Los Angeles, Charlotte is still killing. No mercy, no survivors, and equal treatment. Under this cruel and powerful performance, all the people who have watched the live broadcast around the world have a deep fear of him. Charlotte is very satisfied with such gains. It is worth it that he tore up the script of the Water Group. If he really follows the script of the Water Group, he will definitely not have the current gains. It is even very likely that he will directly become a comedy character, a comedian. This is unacceptable to Charlotte. His system is not a happiness value. In Charlotte's view, the big villain is to make people afraid, that is, to be cruel and ruthless. This is a qualified villain. Charlotte really despises those whitewashed villains. Just when he was thinking about it, above Charlotte's head, the roar of the sonic boom sounded. Then, under the huge wind pressure, Homelander fell from the sky and blocked Charlotte's way. "Hey, Destroyer! Your evil deeds end here, because I, the great Homelander, have come." In this world, the status of the Homelander is extremely high. It is somewhat similar to Superman in the 600th world. In terms of reputation, it is much stronger than Superman. Because, in Superman's world, there are other superheroes who are not inferior to him. However, in this world, the Homelander is far ahead of everyone. Absolute strength has created the absolute power of the Homelander. And absolute power, under management, has created absolute fame. When the Homelander fell from the sky and landed in front of Charlotte, countless people around the world cheered in surprise. Cheered the hero's arrival. But soon, all these cheers came to an abrupt end. Because Charlotte flew over and punched the Homelander in the face. The Homelander, who was still pretending to be handsome just now, was directly hammered out. Charlotte used a bit of strength in this punch. After feeling the feedback, Charlotte shook his head with some disappointment. He could clearly sense that his punch had broken Homelander's defense and injured his bones. Perhaps the injury was not serious. However, this was only part of Charlotte's strength. And this roughly illustrates Homelander's strength level. To be honest, it's really not good. Let alone compared with Superman. Even compared with Charlotte, the half-finished General Zod, it's far worse. Not to mention, Homelander has no biological position. Saying that he is a bankrupt version of Superman is flattering him. To be precise, Homelander is at most a bankrupt version of Kryptonian. However, Azu doesn't think so. After being knocked out by Charlotte's punch, Homelander smashed through the entire gymnasium and fell hard on the street outside. After crashing several cars, he barely stopped. Then, it was anger from the heart. He didn't expect that Charlotte would go to such a level. He didn't expect that Charlotte would be so bold that he would even hit him. "You are just a clown who cooperates with me in acting. How dare you hurt me? What right do you have to hurt me?" The furious Azu wiped the blood oozing from his nose. Then he stood up and flew back to the battlefield without hesitation. While in the air, he punched Charlotte in the face fiercely. He wanted to fight back and punched Charlotte in the face fiercely. However, Charlotte easily blocked it with one hand. Shaking his head with a little boredom, Charlotte grabbed the wrist of his countryman. Then, he grabbed him and threw him around, causing him to hit the crowd fiercely. Crush. Such a result. No one expected it. Even the employees and even the senior executives of the water group. Seeing such a result, they were all silent. Let alone ordinary people. For a long time, Homelander has been synonymous with invincibility in the minds of the world. But now, this myth of invincibility has been completely shattered by Charlotte. But Charlotte is not a superhero. He is just a supervillain. Who wouldn't feel fear from the bottom of their heart when seeing such an existence? Homelander's rage continued. He flew out of the deep pit angrily, and then looked down from above, using his proud laser eyes to release two red lasers, trying to penetrate Charlotte's brain. But the next second, the same red heat ray gushed out. It collided fiercely with Homelander's laser eyes. And pushed towards Homelander with a visible crushing momentum. Ah! Homelander couldn't believe such a result. He let out a furious roar. But it couldn't change anything. Finally, Charlotte slightly deviated the direction, so that the heat ray brushed the cheek of the Motherland instead of directly blowing his head. But even so, the Motherland flew out again. Complete defeat. No longer paying attention to the Motherland. Charlotte slowly flew to the area with the most live broadcast equipment. In front of all the live broadcast media in the world, he said indifferently, "I repeat, I am the Destroyer, the messenger who brings you destruction. Fear, hate, and then, you all die." After that, Charlotte's vector operation broke out. All the live broadcast equipment exploded in an instant. In other words, from now on, what happened in this stadium? Outsiders will not know. People around can only hear bursts of explosive collisions and countless red rays tearing the sky. At the same time, accompanied by the Motherland people's roar. Finally, the entire stadium was almost completely turned into ruins. And in the ruins, a figure slowly walked out. Homelander. At this time, Homelander was in extreme distress. The classic style of short golden hair was now covered with blood. On his face, there was a deep black burn mark. And his uniform was already broken into pieces. In some places, the injuries could even see the bones. In Homelander's hands, there was Xingguang who had fallen into a coma. Homelander, in a princess hug, brought her out of the ruins. At this moment, the image of Homelander. It was completely a great superhero who had just experienced a fierce battle and won with difficulty. And, unlike the previous image of Homelander, the invincible image. At this moment, Homelander was more real, more down to earth, and more great. Again, the same sentence. Superheroes can shine because of supervillains. Without Thanos, the Avengers would never be so brilliant. Without the Joker, Batman would not become a classic. In any superhero story, supervillains are the soul of the superhero. Homelander, can you tell me what happened just now? Homelander, have you defeated the terrible Destroyer? Homelander, is the Destroyer your brother? Homelander. When Azu, with his whole body broken, walked out of the ruins holding Starlight. Many fearless media reporters swarmed up. They all hoped to get explosive news at the first time. Facing so many media, Azu almost couldn't help laughing out loud. But in the end, he still held back. With a heavy, sad, and suppressed anger, he said to all the media, "I'm sorry that I didn't kill the Destroyer completely. He escaped. But I swear, sooner or later I will completely put an end to him, in the name of Homelander. But please be careful, the Destroyer will not give up, he will definitely come back and bring death and destruction back to our world. Okay, I'm going to send this brave lady to receive treatment now, I'm sorry I can't delay any longer." After saying that, Homelander squatted slightly, and the next second he took off. With the Starlight, he disappeared in front of all the media. But even so, these media reporters were also satisfied. Because today's incident was already explosive enough. Homelander left. However, the news about him spread all over the internet at the first time. Almost everywhere with the internet, people knew that Homelander had defeated the terrible enemy Destroyer. At the same time, the madness and strength of Destroyer. It also shocked everyone. Even Homelander had to fight hard and finally won with difficulty. What if there was no Homelander? Just thinking about the consequences is chilling. In short, after the gymnasium incident, Charlotte's fear value skyrocketed in a short period of time. At the same time, the number of Homelander's fans also increased exponentially in a short period of time. In the past, Homelander was also very famous. However, many people still disliked him. They thought he was hypocritical and pretended. Even the things that Homelander did were complained by many people as fake. This is normal. Who asked Homelander to just prevent traffic accidents or fight some bank robbers in the past? Ordinary people can do such things. It is not enough to show the greatness of the motherland. But now, everything is different. When Charlotte came out of nowhere, he was above all others with overwhelming strength. Other superheroes were crushed by Charlotte like withered rotten wood. Only the motherland, and only he, can fight against Charlotte. With the contrast of Charlotte, a strong enemy. The motherland truly has a great feeling. What is a hero? It is to do things that ordinary people can't do and face enemies that ordinary people can't face. Even if the enemy is strong, he still goes forward bravely. This is called a superhero. And now the motherland can be said to have completely reversed his previous image. Completely turned into a superhero-like existence. So, superheroes have always relied on supervillains to set off. After sending Starlight to the hospital controlled by the Water Group, Homelander took off again, and soon he returned to his loyal Warden building. Entering the top floor, Madeline, who had been waiting for a long time, hurriedly came out to greet him. Homelander, are you okay? Facing Madeline's concern, Homelander grinned. Of course I'm fine, what can happen to me? That's good, but that guy. Hearing Charlotte, Homelander's smile disappeared immediately. Instead, he was serious. Don't want that guy, that guy. That's too rude. You should call him Lord Destroyer in the future. Homelander stared at Madeline and said. Then, regardless of Madeline's shock and confusion, Homelander continued, next, I need you to use the news power of the Water Group to report the stadium incident on a global scale. Focus on the horror of the Destroyer and my heroic performance. As for the rest, you can do whatever you want. Just give me a plan after the discussion. After that, Homelander wanted to leave. However, it seemed that he thought of something. He stopped again. In front of Madeline, he opened the refrigerator and took out the frozen milk. Then he left again. Only Madeline was left, looking at Homelander's back as he left, speechless. After leaving the water building, Homelander soon came to his residence. As soon as he entered the house, he saw Charlotte, who was holding his treasured whiskey and drinking it sip by sip. How does it taste? If you like it, I'll send you a box right away. Charlotte said without turning his head. It's okay, you can arrange it. Then, he talked about business again. Have you dealt with the publicity? Homelander nodded and replied, of course, with my position in the Water Group, who dares not to do it according to my method? And with the full publicity of the Water Group, our name will soon spread all over the world. By then, everyone will be afraid of you, and everyone will love me. That kind of future is really great. Man, you are really a genius. Homelander said excitedly. Just tonight, his number of fans has skyrocketed by 200%. It's almost breaking 100 million. This is much more effective than his previous diligent efforts to prevent traffic accidents or fight bank robbers. And all of this was brought to him by Charlotte. This made Homelander's attitude towards Charlotte like meeting a bosom friend. Of course, it is mainly because of Charlotte's strength. Let the motherland recognize it. No, it's more than recognition. Thinking of the time in the gym in Los Angeles, he was beaten by Charlotte and couldn't change hands. The motherland's face darkened a little. In fact, he has already developed a fear of Charlotte in his heart. It's just that the two sides have reached a cooperation, so the motherland is not too worried for the time being. But in the future, I'm afraid I have to think about how to deal with Charlotte. So, in the gym in Los Angeles, the motherland and Charlotte played a play. It seems that the two people are fighting. In fact, the two people took the opportunity to reach a cooperation with each other. Charlotte will be the villain. And the motherland will be the superhero who fights against the villain. In this way, one gets the fear value. The other gets the love of fans. Win-win. The motherland said in front of the media that he beat Charlotte. It was only after getting Charlotte's consent that he said it. Otherwise, it would be the experience of Azu being hung and beaten. It would be strange if he dared to say such a thing. In the final analysis, all of this was just a play directed by Charlotte. The purpose was to make this story more exciting. This would also make it easier for him to harvest the fear value better. Anyway, in this world, Charlotte is invincible. There is no worry about playing too much. Man, the casualty report of the gymnasium is out. More than 4,000 people died, and the economic losses reached more than 10 billion. This is definitely a major event that shocked the world. The Homelander said to Charlotte with the casualty report calculated by the Water Group. There was envy and eagerness in his tone. To be honest, the Homelander envied Charlotte a little. He could act recklessly and do what he wanted. Unlike him, with the burden of being an idol, there are some things that cannot be done, at least not in the eyes of the world. This is such a pity. If there is a chance, Azu would also like to experience it. Charlotte turned on his laser eyes and scanned the crowd. Charlotte saw what Homelander was thinking. Turning his head, he said, "If you want, I can arrange such an opportunity for you. For example, pretend that you are controlled by me, and then you can destroy everything you see as much as you want." Hearing this, Homelander's smile gradually became innocent. He really wanted to do this. Let the Homelander kill as many people as possible. This plan is good, but it is too early to do it now. At least we need to lay the groundwork a few more times. Wait until Charlotte does a few more big things and lay the groundwork a little more, and then it will be fine. It is still too abrupt now. Let's talk about the plan. Charlotte handed a prepared plan to the Homelander. And said, "This is my arrangement for you in the follow-up of Water Company. You should get more familiar with it, and then hand it over to the senior management of Water Company." Hearing this, the Homelander also picked up the plan and read it. The more he read, the more excited the Homelander's expression became. Charlotte's plan is basically a script for a large series of movies. Not only the details are in the character setting and the plot. Even some storyboard shots have been arranged. If the things on it eventually become a reality, the Homelander dare not imagine how popular he will be at that time. However, there is one thing that makes the Homelander unhappy. That is, why should he be so miserable? In the script, he will have many frustrated plots. For example, being beaten by Charlotte, being tortured by Charlotte's conspiracy, and having his lover killed by Charlotte in front of him. And so on. This made the Homelander a little unhappy. However, he thought of Charlotte's words. Only by suffering and finally overcoming suffering can one become a truly great hero. The Homelander put these thoughts away again. Charlotte was right. An invincible hero cannot be loved by people. That is a god, not a superhero. Only superheroes who have been frustrated can really be down to earth. Haven't you seen that even Superman has died many times? Didn't Batman lose both his parents and his back was broken? Not to mention Spider-Man. The Star of Fate is talking about him. A complete failed man. And these three are the three most popular superheroes. Their success is certainly due to their own image and character. But more importantly, it is because they have suffered hardships, but finally overcame them. Suffering is sublimation for superheroes. Of course, the main reason is that Azu knows that these are all acting. He just needs to pretend to be miserable. It's not like he really becomes miserable. In this case, what's so difficult to accept? Anyway, he is also an old actor. However, Azu can accept this plan. But it's hard to say about the Water Group. After all, in this script, the role of the Water Group is not very good. But soon, the people of the motherland saw it. Even if the Water Group disagrees, what? In the face of absolute strength, whoever disagrees will die. That's right. After getting to know Charlotte, Azu also has a tendency to be assimilated by Charlotte. He didn't have this idea before. At least it won't be so obvious. While Charlotte and Homelander were discussing the details of the follow-up plan. On the other side, in the hospital, Starlight also slowly woke up. Looking at the unfamiliar ceiling, she felt the pain all over her body again. Starlight suddenly returned to that terrible night. She remembered that she was vulnerable in front of the guy called Destroyer. Being hung up and beaten. There was no power to resist at all. Just think back to her despair at the beginning. Starlight subconsciously developed an extreme fear of Charlotte. That man is too scary. Are superheroes so dangerous? Didn't it agree that you only need to deal with some ordinary gangsters? Just when Starlight was a little discouraged. When she felt that she might not be a superhero, but should find a construction site to move bricks. The door of her ward was opened. Madeline, the vice president of the water group, walked in. Child, you're awake. Ah, Ms. Madeline. I'm sorry, I didn't stop that disaster. Xinguang knew Ms. Madeline, of course. Not only because Ms. Madeline was the vice president of the water group. More importantly, she was the founder of the Seven. To some extent, she was Xinguang's idol. Before Xinguang, she dreamed of joining the Seven. It may be because of Ms. Madeline's influence. But now, Xinguang's courage was almost beaten by Charlotte. I didn't think about the Seven at all. Besides, I was so weak that I was definitely not qualified to join the Seven. Just when Xinguang was depressed, Ms. Madeline the warrior gently stroked Xinguang's hair. And said, "No, it's not your fault, kid. You've done a great job, you're very brave. When other superheroes chose to run for their lives, only you chose to go against the flow. Your heroic figure rushing towards the destroyer has now spread all over the world. You are the real hero." Xinguang was unconscious before and didn't know anything at all. At this time, she has become popular. Indeed, the biggest winner in the gymnasium incident is the Homelander. However, Xinguang also won the love of almost all netizens with her brave and fearless behavior. The strength of the Homelander is certainly reassuring. However, Xinguang's courage to take the initiative to challenge even though he knew he was defeated is more inspiring. People need heroes, and it just so happens that Xinguang, who stood up at the beginning, became that hero. Although in the end, Xinguang was beaten badly. But so what? Being a hero has never been about strength. Just like the C-class hero, the unlicensed knight. He is the weakest hero. But who can say that he is not a real hero? Xinguang herself did not expect it. When she woke up, she became a national idol. Even her number of fans has skyrocketed to an exaggerated level in a very short period of time. Now, her number of fans is more than 50 million. Such data, even if put in the 7, is the top 3 level. And this is also the purpose of Madeline's visit this time. Xinguang is so popular now. It would be a pity not to bring him in as a member of the 7. As for strength. Oh, among the 7, how many are really strong? Except for Homelander. Only Queen Maeve is a little useful. But the others, such as Locomotive, Deep Sea, and Invisible Man. They are just making up the numbers. It's okay to show off at ordinary times. However, it's a bit too funny to use it against Charlotte. In fact, the water group has already decided to reorganize the 7. It's no longer just about the number of fans. Instead, it takes strength as the first reference. Xinguang, in addition to having a lot of fans, her strength does have great potential. This is also one of the reasons why she was chosen as the new version of the 7. As for those who were eliminated from the 7, just ask them to use their lives to make a final contribution to the water group. 3 days later, the news that Starlight joined the Super 7. It spread all over the internet. Under the attention of the public, Starlight became a member of the Super 7. For this reason, Homelander came specially to welcome Starlight's joining. This also made Homelander's reputation even higher than before. But correspondingly, Charlotte's popularity dropped a lot. In addition, he has no road these days. It is inevitable that he will be gradually forgotten. But it will be soon. Charlotte has planned the next target of attack. And this time, the target he is targeting is the headquarters building of the VOT group. On the one hand, this is the headquarters of superheroes. It has a huge influence in the world. On the other hand, some guys in the top management of the VOT group don't understand what people say. Since those guys think they can ignore Charlotte's words, don't follow Charlotte's plan, then, there is no need to let them live. In order to achieve the best result for this attack, Charlotte even said hello to Homelander. Let him find a chance to go out. After all, Homelander had no role in this operation. This was a one-man show by Charlotte. After receiving the news that Homelander had left the water group building, Charlotte set out immediately. With a speed of more than 10 times Mach, he arrived at the water group building in minutes. Looking at this building, which symbolizes the era of superheroes, there was only contempt in Charlotte's eyes. In his eyes, the so-called superheroes in this world are actually just a group of weak chickens. Naturally, this so-called water group He didn't take it seriously. Without hesitation, Charlotte dived directly towards the water building. The exaggerated speed caused a series of sonic booms in the first place. Like a meteorite, it smashed into the entire building fiercely. Almost smashed the entire building through. The violent collision also caused a huge commotion. Many people screamed instinctively. They still didn't figure out what happened. When everyone came to their senses, they saw Charlotte floating out of the ruins. In his hand, he was still holding a ball of air. No, not air. But a person. A superhero called the Invisible Man. One of the 7. The most powerful superhero. Ha, so weak. Charlotte said contemptuously to the Invisible Man who was struggling in his hand. Let the Invisible Man try hard to pry his hand apart. This was of course in vain. How could the Invisible Man do something that even the people of his country couldn't do? Charlotte didn't hesitate. With a little force, he directly broke the Invisible Man's neck. Then, he threw the superhero's body aside. He didn't even look at it. It was just like kicking a stray dog to death on the side of the road. To be honest, the superhero Invisible Man is really weak. Except for his special skin, which has some defensive power. Other than that, he is not much stronger than ordinary people. In the original book, he fought back and forth with ordinary humans like Butcher. He is even weak. Such a person can only be found in the world of the boys. If he were put in the world of American comics, he can't even be a supervillain. At most, he is a small leader on the roadside. He is a little stronger than ordinary people. A battle of a slightly higher level. If the Invisible Man passes by, he will be killed by the aftermath. It is conceivable that he is as bad as others. It is natural for such a person to be killed by Charlotte in seconds. It is not surprising to be killed in seconds. It is really strange that he cannot be killed in seconds. After killing the Invisible Man casually, Charlotte's killing has just begun. Ignoring the horrified gazes of the people around him, Charlotte's eyes glowed with a terrifying red light. Then, he indiscriminately shot anyone who appeared in his field of vision. Anyway, the bot group was not a good thing. Just kill them and that's it. While Charlotte was killing the top executives of the bot group. At this time, they were all anxious like ants on a hot pot. Especially the president of the bot group. After learning that Charlotte attacked the bot building, his first reaction was that the Homelanders came to seize power. It's not surprising to think of this. As the president of the bot group, he knows much more than ordinary superheroes. Therefore, he knows clearly. Charlotte is actually related to the bot group. The group has cooperation. Originally, this cooperation should be more in-depth. However, he wanted to control Charlotte, and wanted to control Charlotte in his hands just like he did with Homelander. Therefore, he secretly suppressed Charlotte's popularity and threatened Charlotte in turn to try to control Charlotte. It can only be said that he is really careless. Do you really think that Kryptonians and Homelanders are the same? And the reason why Homelander can be easily controlled by the bot group. That is because the genes that need love and recognition have been implanted since childhood. Charlotte does not have this problem. Use the method used to deal with Homelander to deal with General Zod. Even if the 9 clans are wholesaled, they are not enough to kill. The president of the bot group thought he could control Charlotte. Little did he know that in Charlotte's eyes, he was just a bug. If he doesn't listen and doesn't follow the arrangements, he can be killed and replaced. Compromise. Are you worthy? The president of the water group really didn't expect it. Charlotte would be so crazy that he ran over to attack the water building. However, after the shock, there was only a strong fear. Others don't understand Charlotte's strength. But he knows it too well. The people of the motherland are not Charlotte's opponents. The security guards of the water group alone can't stop Charlotte at all. The only way is to run away before Charlotte kills him. And in order to increase the chance of his escape, the president of the water group also chose to sell his superheroes without hesitation. Before running away, the president of the water group directly gave an order to the superheroes of the water building, asking them to deal with the robbers who invaded the water building. Yes, robbers. The superheroes were not told at all that the invader was Charlotte. Otherwise, no superhero would dare to stand in front of Charlotte. Robbers are different. Even many superheroes, after receiving this instruction, they thought it was another large-scale event directed by the group. The water group has done similar things countless times. It's not surprising to do it again. And this led to a result. That is, many superheroes confidently went in the direction of Charlotte. They wanted to take advantage of the arrival of other superheroes to do a few operations. Fortunately, the follow-up greatly increased their popularity. But soon, they saw Charlotte floating in the air with red eyes. At that moment, the hearts of the superheroes were chilled. Ah, I'm going to fight Charlotte. Really? Will I win? Guaranteed to die. The above is the mentality of the superheroes now. Originally thought, they were just here to deal with some robbers arranged by the water group. It's a great opportunity to be on the news and gain exposure. As a result, you let me fight Charlotte. Are you kidding me? Don't mention these, the superheroes were stunned. Even Charlotte was stunned for a moment. Wait, are these superheroes so brave? Instead of running away, they took the initiative to rush towards him. In this case, Charlotte doesn't mind sending them on their way. Anyway, they are not good people. Courage is commendable but useless. Go to hell, everyone. Charlotte was surprised for a moment. Then he entered the killing mode again. Dazzling red light gushed out, burning and cutting everything along the way. Those superheroes who rushed over. Without even a groan. He was killed to pieces by Charlotte. The fragments of the hero were scattered everywhere. In addition, the two red lights almost shot through the entire water building. Even from outside, you can see it. The water building is now being invaded. At the same time, the locomotive also rushed to the scene quickly. Since Starlight joined the team, the locomotive has felt an unprecedented crisis. Because his popularity has been at the bottom among the seven. In addition, he had an accident not long ago. He hit an innocent citizen standing on the roadside. Originally, this was just a small matter. In normal times, the public relations of the water group can be easily handled. But now, isn't it a special period? Starlight and Homelander have occupied a lot of resources in the public relations department. At the same time, the top management of the water group announced that the Seven will be rescreened. Some people may be kicked out of the Seven. And the locomotive, who is at the bottom of the popularity and has just created a big disaster. No matter how you look at it, it seems to be the one who has been optimized. For his own status and for his place in the Seven. After hearing that the robbers invaded the water group. The first reaction of the locomotive was that the opportunity to make meritorious deeds had come. As long as he performed well in this robber invasion. I think he should be able to get a few more points from the top. With this thought, the locomotive rushed to the scene of the incident as soon as possible. As a result, before he arrived, he saw two lasers piercing through everything. The Homelanders arrived so quickly. Then those robbers must have been in danger, and they came a step late. But it's not a waste of time. There is no opportunity to show off. It's also good to follow the Homelanders to get some heat. With this thought, the locomotive quickly ran into the scene of the incident. I thought he would be greeted by the Homelanders and a large number of cameras. As a result, it was a man who almost made him suffer from cardiac arrest. Charlotte. Charlotte, the destroyer. It was not until this time that the locomotive remembered. In addition to Azu, who can emit lasers from his eyes. Charlotte can do it too. Looking at Charlotte's eyes, he slowly turned to himself. The locomotive's expression froze directly. Then he silently stepped back a few steps. Well, I passed by, you continue. As soon as the voice fell, the locomotive ran away. The speed of the lightning speed was brought to the extreme at this moment. This is the fastest speed that the locomotive has ever exerted. Even faster than the previous limit. It only takes a few seconds for him to escape directly from the water building and then find a place to hide. However, showing speed in front of Charlotte can only be said to be really humorous. The speed of the locomotive is indeed too fast to be seen in the eyes of ordinary people. The maximum speed is 1500 kilometers per hour, which is more than 350 meters per second if converted to seconds. Faster than the speed of sound. However, Charlotte's speed can easily reach more than 10 Mach. Converted to seconds, it is more than 4000 meters per second. It is completely different from the speed of the locomotive. How easy is it to escape from Charlotte? Moreover, Charlotte has no intention of letting him go. Although Locomotive is not a powerful superhero. But it is undeniable that his popularity is indeed very high. At the bottom, it is only at the bottom among the Super 7. But if it is placed in the entire group of superheroes, Locomotive is undoubtedly a top streamer. Killing such a top streamer can make Charlotte gain more attention. Just like in the DC universe, killing Batman first is a sacrifice. Even for this reason, Charlotte will never let the Locomotive go. In addition, the Locomotive has another advantage. That is, it will make a zoo eat human blood buns. So in general, the Locomotive must die. The Locomotive's escape speed is very fast, but Charlotte's speed is even faster. The Locomotive has just started. Charlotte has already caught up with him, and then directly broke the Locomotive's legs. Accompanied by screams and collisions. The Locomotive, which was thrown out by inertia, directly crashed through the wall of the water group. And broke through the outermost floor-to-ceiling windows of the water group all the way. In the sound of the Locomotive screaming, he fell directly from the building dozens of meters high. Then with a bang, it fell on the nearby street. Although the Locomotive is very weak. But the physical constitution is not comparable to ordinary people. He didn't die even after falling from a height of dozens of meters. But his legs were broken, and the serious injuries caused by the fall made him completely lose the ability to move. And he, who fell from the sky, also attracted the attention of many people nearby. After many people noticed the miserable state of the Locomotive, they all exclaimed in disbelief. "Oh my God, it's the Locomotive, how did he become like this? Too miserable, his legs were directly broken, who did this?" Single quote. "Oh my God, even the Super 7 are not safe. Look, the attacker is coming out. Oh my God, it's the destroyer, everyone run." A person's reputation is like a tree's shadow. In the Los Angeles sports arena incident, Charlotte showed off in front of the global media. Now he definitely knows a lot of people. After seeing him, even the bravest people began to flee frantically. Afraid that if he ran too slowly, he would be sent to the sky by a heat ray. But Charlotte didn't care about these people. He slowly flew above the Locomotive. Ignoring the Locomotive's plea for mercy. The heat ray started. It rushed directly along the Locomotive's eyes and burned his skull. Rather than saying that this was a finishing blow to the Locomotive, it was better to say that this was a public execution of the Locomotive by Charlotte in front of the global media. After finishing, Charlotte turned around. The heat ray directly crossed the entire water tower horizontally. In the heavy roar, the water tower, which symbolizes the era of superheroes, collapsed directly. What is called the destroyer. Under the arrangement of the water company, the 7 people quickly attacked everywhere. They solved many dangers. At the same time, they also gained a huge amount of fame. These days, a zoo always slept with a smile. However, the overall situation of the world is not good. Perhaps it is because of Charlotte's leading role. It directly led to many superheroes turning to the camp of supervillains. Many terrible attacks caused by superhumans began to be staged all over the world. In addition, because of the strength and cruelty shown by Charlotte, he also gained a considerable number of audiences and believers. Many groups that regard themselves as destruction began to take root in various parts of the world. It sounds a bit magical, but this is the fact. Yes, a big villain like Charlotte also has fans. This is not difficult to understand. After all, people nowadays, in order to pursue excitement and personality, really dare to try anything. Just like many people believe in Satan. What's wrong with believing in Charlotte again? In addition to the above, there is a group of very special people who are looking for Charlotte. These people want to become Charlotte's followers. They want to follow Charlotte and destroy the whole world. Yes, these people are crazy and extremely perverted. But the diversity of human beings is destined to exist. And the Butcher is one of the many perverts. After realizing that Charlotte may be the only way to kill the Homelander, he began to look for Charlotte's traces. He wanted Charlotte to kill the Homelander. But it's not easy. Charlotte came and went without a trace, and no one knew where he was. It's like a natural disaster. No one can predict where the natural disaster will land. However, the Butcher is very lucky. When Charlotte occasionally practiced super hearing, he heard him. Originally, Charlotte didn't want to care. He needed subordinates to destroy the world. However, after realizing that it was the Butcher, one of the protagonists in the original book, Charlotte still gave him a face. He came to see him specially. Accompanied by a series of sonic booms and roars. Charlotte suddenly appeared in front of the butcher. Looking at the butcher who was standing a little unsteady. Charlotte asked directly, "Are you calling me? What's the matter?" The butcher was frightened by the sudden appearance of Charlotte. It was quite like Yi Gong liked dragons, but when the dragon really appeared, he was frightened again. However, with the hatred for his motherland. In the end, the butcher suppressed his fear of Charlotte. He firmly said his thoughts. "Destroyer, I'm here to discuss cooperation with you. I know that the Homelander is your biggest opponent now, and I can help you kill him. As long as the Homelander dies, no one will stop you from destroying the world." Charlotte couldn't help but sneer when he heard these words. Zhu, the biggest opponent. Laughing to death. Also, this butcher wouldn't think that he didn't know who he was, right? To put it nicely, people like the butcher have strong action capabilities. But to put it bluntly, they will do whatever it takes to achieve their goals. As long as he can achieve his goals, this guy doesn't mind doing anything. Even if he keeps trampling on his own bottom line, he doesn't care. He did this in the original book. And now, what the butcher is thinking. Charlotte can see it with his eyes closed. It's nothing more than instigating himself to fight with the Homelander. It's best if both sides are injured and die together. Even if he didn't die, the butcher would definitely kill the other one madly. Unfortunately, the butcher miscalculated his opponent. With Charlotte's strength, beating Zhu is really like beating his son. How could both of them lose? Of course, this fact is only known by himself. The butcher is not clear. In the eyes of the butcher and many people, he is at most similar to the people of his motherland. This is Charlotte, a deliberate disguise. The main point is the information gap. When he was in the mutant world, Charlotte relied on this information gap to pit his opponents more than once. And now, he started again. After seeing through the butcher's mind, Charlotte originally wanted to kill him directly. But after careful consideration, Charlotte finally gave up this plan. Well, keep it for now. Raise it for a while. When the time is right, kill it to add to the fun. But all this has a prerequisite. That is, the butcher can hold on until then. Looking at the somewhat nervous butcher, Charlotte said indifferently, "Want to cooperate with me? Sure. But you have to have the qualifications now. Inject this, and I will cooperate with you." Charlotte threw it casually, and a green serum appeared in the palm of the butcher's hand. Looking at this tube of serum, the butcher was confused. Somewhat confused. What is this? Is it some kind of poison? Just looked at the serum in his hand, and then looked at Charlotte flying in the sky. In the end, the hatred for the motherland prevailed. Who cares? As long as you can kill the motherland, it's just death, so what? With such awareness, the butcher cut his blood vessels with a knife without hesitation. Then, he poured the whole tube of serum directly into the blood vessels. I can only say that he is indeed a ruthless person. However, the butcher regretted it immediately. Because the next moment these serums entered the blood vessels, he felt an indescribable pain rising all over his body. It was more terrifying than being cut into pieces. It was like being hit by countless giant hammers on every inch of the body. Every inch of flesh and bone suffered a fatal blow. There was no place that didn't hurt. Under this horrible pain, the butcher fainted for a second, but was immediately awakened by the pain. This repeated experience was the ultimate torture. As a Kryptonian, Charlotte saw it clearly. The butcher's genetic structure was constantly collapsing and reorganizing. Of course, to call it another word, he was evolving. The butcher was constantly evolving. And the serum that Charlotte threw to him was the famous number 5 potion. Moreover, it was not a temporary one, but the real number 5 potion. The number 5 potion was the origin of all superhumans in this world. All superhumans, including Zhu, were injected with the number 5 potion when they were young. This is how he finally became a superhuman, or even a superhero. However, this drug has a fatal flaw. That is, only babies can survive if injected with it. Adults who are injected with it will die. However, Charlotte just wants to give it a try. Let's see if the protagonist Halo of the Butcher, the protagonist in the original book, can withstand this mortality rate. If he can withstand it, then he has value to be used. If he can't withstand it, then he will die. Protagonist, has Charlotte killed enough? Wait patiently in the same place. listening to the butcher's crying. After a few minutes, Charlotte knew that he survived. In the microscopic world that ordinary people cannot see, Charlotte clearly saw that the butcher's collapsed gene chain was constantly reorganizing and healing. This means that his genes have been completely changed. From now on, the butcher will completely become a superhuman, a powerful superhero. Sure enough, not long after, the butcher opened his eyes. At this moment, a yellow light bloomed in his eyes. Cyclops. Similar to Homelander, but with less power and less lethality. Even so, his strength is very strong. At least much stronger than some street superhumans. The butcher's superpowers include super strength, super physique, super defense, devouring tentacles and Cyclops. Except for not being able to fly, it can almost be said to be a weakened version of Homelander. With such strength, anyone else would be qualified to join the seven-man team. However, in front of Charlotte, it is still far from that. Even if he wanted to kill the Homelander alone, it was impossible. He would only be hung up and hammered to death by the Homelander. However, the butcher at this time did not know this. As soon as he woke up, the butcher felt a strong force coming out of his body. With the blessing of this power, he had an illusion that he could do anything. So much so that the look he looked at Charlotte was no longer as fearful as before, but eager to try. Charlotte did not like such a look. In this case, let him remember it for a long time. With this thought, Charlotte swooped down suddenly. He directly knocked the butcher to the ground. One foot stepped on his head. With a little force, the butcher's head was nailed to the ground. No matter how hard the butcher tried, he could not get up. I gave you your power. Don't you think you can use it to resist me? Or do you want to try to see if I can crush your head? Under Charlotte's whispered threat, the butcher simply admitted his weakness. I'm sorry, I was wrong. Great Destroyer, I will never do this again. The butcher was not afraid of death, but he knew that he could not die now. How could he bear to die when his motherland was not dead yet? Moreover, he could not see the hope of killing his motherland before. But now, he saw it. Homelander. Wait for death. After teaching the butcher what respect and inferiority are, Charlotte did not torture him for too long. He quickly put him up. After getting up, the butcher was indeed much more obedient. However, he was still eager to try the power in his body. However, compared to these, he had a bigger question. Lord Destroyer, what did you just give me? Why have I never heard of it? Charlotte did not hide it and said casually, Compound number 5, also known as Potion number 5, the origin of superhumans. Nowadays, most superhumans become superheroes by injecting this potion. The same is true for the people of the motherland. Hearing this, the butcher's hands were shaking with excitement. This is really a huge secret. This secret is enough to subvert the cognition of the world. At the same time, it can also bury the water group completely. After all, this means that the water group has been secretly injecting babies with potion number 5 for many years. This is absolutely illegal. The fine alone can bankrupt the water group. Not to mention the pressure from public opinion. But soon, the butcher had no time to think about these. Compared with these, he had more important things to do. Don't you want to follow me? Okay, I'll give you a chance. Do you see the large supermarket over there? Go ahead. That's your goal. Hearing Charlotte's words, the butcher's face froze. He had a bad feeling. Lord Destroyer, I don't understand what you are saying. The butcher tried to get away with it. But Charlotte would not give him this chance. You got on the ship and still want to be clean. What are you thinking? Charlotte said directly, destroy that large supermarket to show your determination. Maybe by then, you can attract the people of your motherland. Willn't you be able to take revenge by then? When the butcher heard this, his face was as black as a locomotive. That's right, the butcher will do whatever it takes to achieve his goal. It's for revenge, no bottom line. However, he has no bottom line for his methods. He can ruthlessly kill those superheroes because he knows that they are all scum. However, he cannot kill innocent people indiscriminately. This goes against his principles. But now, in front of Charlotte, how can he have the chance to abide by his principles? If you don't attack them, I will attack you. Think it over, time is running out. Charlotte looked at the butcher coldly and said, if the butcher doesn't listen, he doesn't mind sending him off now. Do you really think he can follow you if he wants to, and leave if he wants to? You took the initiative to summon the ancient god, so when the ancient god comes, it's not your turn to say what to do. Facing Charlotte's cold eyes, the butcher gritted his teeth and did several psychological preparations, but he couldn't do it. Charlotte was speechless. Forget it, since you can't make up your mind, I'll help you. Charlotte quickly appeared beside the butcher. Then, he grabbed him and threw him towards the large supermarket. Accompanied by a whistling sonic boom, the butcher directly crashed through the outer wall of the supermarket. Then he rushed all the way, crashing through 7 or 8 walls before stopping. But at this moment, the damage he caused was already great enough. The entire large supermarket tilted because of this. And more importantly, it was the ordinary people who were killed by him along the way. Looking at the blood all over his body and the wailing around him, the butcher covered his head, and his mind fell into extreme self-doubt and pain. When he himself was unconscious, dozens of tentacles suddenly extended rapidly from his body and pierced into the bodies of ordinary people around him. All those people were sucked into mummies in a very short time. And this process is still repeating. When the butcher came to his senses and opened his eyes again, there was no one left near him. They all died in his hands. At this moment, the butcher already understood. He could never go back. He was destined to fall into the abyss. There was no way back. And Charlotte also came to the butcher at this time. He patted his shoulder and said with a smile, "Welcome to join my team. I wish us to destroy this hypocritical world as soon as possible." With the help of Charlotte's Xiao, the butcher finally crossed his bottom line. He became a villain hero completely. Even if such a result is not what he wants, it can't be changed. Looking at Charlotte standing next to him, the butcher really wants to punch this guy in the face. He wants to beat him up. But the butcher also knows that he can't do it. Charlotte's strength is far beyond the limit of what he can handle. Fighting with Charlotte is completely seeking death. He is not afraid of death, but he is afraid that he can't die after his motherland. If he doesn't watch his motherland die, how can he be willing to die so early? Homelander, yes, everything is his motherland. As long as he can kill his motherland, then everything he does now is worthwhile and should be done. Homelander, you really deserve to die. In the end, the butcher escaped, and Charlotte soared into the sky. When other superheroes arrived here, there was only a mess and countless broken corpses. Because of Charlotte's intrusion, the plot of the whole world has been completely changed beyond recognition. The Black Robe Patrol has not yet begun to play a role, and the edge has been shattered. The butcher has not had time to embark on the path of anti-hero. He has become a super-villain first. He has avoided at least 5 seasons of detours. And the original male protagonist Huey, after his girlfriend died, he wanted to find the locomotive and seek justice. However, when the locomotive was killed by Charlotte like a dog in public, Huey also lost his obsession with revenge. The enemy has been sent, so what is the need for revenge? So, Huey became an unknown otaku. There is no longer the original magnificent future. And the same is true for others. The wolf girl was still locked up in a corner, becoming a test subject for Compound No. 5. The other members of the Black Robe Patrol were also doing their own things, and never confronted the superheroes again. After losing these people's trouble, the 7, led by Homelander, developed smoothly. The continuous suppression of disasters in various places made the popularity of the 7 of them grow day by day. Especially Homelander. As the leader of the 7, he is also the most powerful superhero today. His popularity has reached an exaggerated level. Almost everyone has a worship mentality for him. Even the official of America recognizes him as a true hero. In this case, Azu can no longer turn over. Even if he goes berserk and kills indiscriminately in public, the official of America will also help Azu find excuses, saying that he is controlled to do so. It can be said that at this time, Azu has completely reached the peak of his life. But as we all know, after reaching the peak of life, it will start to go downhill. Azu has gained the hopes of people all over the world. And what Charlotte has to do is to shatter these hopes. And turn these hopes into people's fear of themselves. After raising Azu for so long, it's time to harvest. After the destruction of the water building, soon, with the approval of the New York City government, a new piece of land fell into the hands of the water group. And the new water group building was soon rebuilt on this land. At this time, the water group, because of Azu, has become an undoubted supergiant enterprise. It is even the light of the world in many people's minds. For such a group, the reconstruction of the headquarters building is naturally an extremely grand event. Azu is also looking forward to it. He thought that he would appear and give a speech when the building was capped. He prepared for this speech for a long time. And the main theme of this speech is hope. Azu intends to use this destroyed and rebuilt building to express that human hope will be rekindled even if it is destroyed. It must be said that Azu is really a genius in speech. The public relations department of the water group is also really capable. Once this speech goes well, then, Azu will truly become the light of hope for mankind. At that time, his popularity will rise again to a level comparable to Jesus. In order to ensure that everything goes well, Azu even came to find Charlotte and asked him not to make trouble on that day. As Azu's good partner, Charlotte of course chose to go to the door in person to send blessings. Soon, with the cooperation of a large number of manpower and superheroes, the new water group building rose from the ground. Short in just a week or so, it was basically completed. The only thing left was the final capping. And this job fell to Azu without any surprise. On that day, the capping ceremony of the water group was launched. Almost half of the people in New York City and the media from all over the world gathered under the water group building. And under so many eyes. The other 6 of the 7 posed in front of the media in various ways. They wantonly murdered the cameras of the media from all over the world. And as the leader of the 7, the Homelander didn't make people wait too long. Amid cheers, Azu held a huge piece of steel and landed directly on the top floor of the water group building. After placing the steel on the roof with his own hands and completing the capping ceremony, the Homelander then landed gracefully. Together with the other 6 people, he welcomed the praise from the world. All this should have been a beautiful day. Until Homelander, you hypocrite, you deserve to die. The furious roar suppressed the noisy voices in the whole place. Many people looked at each other in bewilderment. And Azu, whose originally elegant smile was directly stiffened. Indescribable anger was rising in his body. He suppressed the anger himself and did not let it burst out. But even so, his expression began to distort. Angry Azu looked in the direction of the voice. He found a decadent middle-aged man staring at him with hatred. This made Azu relieved. Huh, good, it's not Charlotte. But since you are not Charlotte anymore, how dare you mess with me? You are really not afraid of death. And the person who came was the butcher. After following Charlotte and becoming a villain, the butcher has been looking forward to the day when he will go to war with the Homelander completely. And this day finally came. Today. He didn't wait for Charlotte to arrive before taking action. He followed the crowd and saw Azu. He couldn't help but roar at his countrymen. When enemies meet, they are particularly jealous. What's more, this is an enemy that he has hated for 10 years. It's strange that he can keep his sanity. As for whether he can be a match for Azu alone, the butcher didn't think about it. Because he knew that Charlotte would be here soon. The butcher suddenly stood up. He attracted everyone's attention. Some people who were not close to the butcher were very tactful and kept away from him. They were afraid that they would get splattered with blood if they got into a fight. Without waiting for the Homelander to make a move, Shenhai, one of the Super 7, had already rushed towards the butcher. As the least popular and weakest member of the 7, Shenhai felt a sense of crisis. So, he wanted to seize every opportunity to show himself. This time, it was like this. He wanted to use the butcher as a scapegoat, so that he could gain a good impression in front of the Homelander, and also show his face in front of the global media to increase his fans. But soon, Shenhai knew he was wrong. Because the butcher was not an ordinary person at all. He was another powerful superhuman. As soon as Shenhai rushed over, he was grabbed by the butcher, and then without saying a word, the butcher punched Shenhai in the head. Before he could even hum, Shenhai's head was blown off. The headless corpse was still twitching, but all life was gone. Instant kill. This is the difference in strength between Shenhai and the butcher. Shenhai is a superhuman. But he is really not strong. Not to mention compared with Azu. Even the dead locomotive can hang him up and beat him. His strength is the worst among the seven. The reason why he can join the seven is because of the right positioning. He is a rare marine superhuman. He can effectively keep the seven diverse. This is the fundamental reason why Shenhai can join the seven. If we really count according to strength, Shenhai has no chance to step onto such a high stage. And now, the butcher has proved this with actual actions. Shenhai is vulnerable. Shenhai's sudden death directly shocked everyone. Several superhumans who were also members of the seven looked at Shenhai's body in disbelief. Although Shenhai was not well received in the seven, he was a comrade after all. He died in front of everyone. Even Xingguang, who was the most hostile to Shenhai, felt sad for Shenhai. Storm, on the other hand, seemed to have seen an opportunity. He wanted to step forward and kill the butcher to avenge Shenhai. In this way, Shenhai's fans would most likely become her fans. However, just as Storm took a step, Azu suppressed him with one hand. Let me do it. I want to kill this fool with my own hands to avenge my good brother Shenhai. The motherland said it with great righteousness. But in fact, his idea was the same as Storm's. Such a good opportunity to increase fans cannot be taken by others first. Storm saw this, although helpless, but he could only choose to obey. She dared not disobey the orders of the motherland. Otherwise, Azu could really kill people. Without hesitation, Azu stood out from the crowd. Floating not far from the butcher, looking down at him from a high position. Facing the gaze of the motherland, the butcher also felt nervous. He knew that there was a huge gap between him and the motherland. But at this time, he was no longer allowed to retreat. I don't know if Lord Destroyer can come in time to save me from the hands of the motherland. The butcher thought in his heart. It's not his fault that he looked up to the motherland. But the motherland's record was there. He had repelled Charlotte, and at least had the same level of combat power as Charlotte. And Charlotte, beating the butcher was like beating a dog. Easily crushed, even killed instantly. With such a big gap, the butcher went crazy to think that he could beat the motherland. Not being killed instantly was considered a success. With this idea, the butcher was very nervous to guard against Azu's attack. And soon, Azu took action. The figure disappeared in the air in an instant. When he appeared again, he was already in front of the butcher. Aiming at the butcher, the motherland punched him without hesitation. But the butcher was not afraid, but was very confused. Before, he had overestimated the strength of the motherland as much as possible. Even taking Charlotte as a reference. As a result, when the fight really started, the butcher found out. The motherland is just like this. Admittedly, the motherland is very strong. Whether it is speed or strength, it is too strong. However, it also depends on who you compare with. Compared with Charlotte, the motherland is slow and weak at the same time. Before the butcher figured out why this was the case. The motherland's fist had already hit him hard in the face. The butcher was hammered directly into the ground. With the butcher as the center, a large pit with a range of dozens of meters appeared directly on the street. The terrifying power even caused the surrounding ground to tremble slightly. And the butcher, lying at the bottom of the pit, couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Then, he was confused. That's it. There is no doubt that the punch of the motherland is very heavy. After being punched by the motherland, the butcher was like being hit hard by a high-speed train. But that's all. There is no destructive power like Charlotte, who can kill him with one punch. This is very confusing. If the motherland has only this strength, then how can he repel Charlotte? Repel that demon-like existence. The butcher indeed did not notice that the motherland's eyes had begun to turn red. I thought he just heard the butcher's whisper. That's it. Ha, are you looking down on my motherland? It seems to be true, but the blow was too light. In this case, let's do something serious. You fool, go to hell. With anger, Zu's laser eyes burst out, shooting fiercely at the butcher. At this time, the butcher also realized the danger. He quickly released his own laser eyes as a counterattack. One red and one yellow, two lasers, passionately collided in the air. Overall, Zu still has the upper hand. But the butcher, instead of feeling happy, felt a sense of terror. Something is wrong, 1,000 and 10,000 things are wrong. It shouldn't be like this. The Homelander shouldn't have only this little strength. With this little strength, how can he repel Charlotte? And how can he survive in Charlotte's hands? After careful thinking, the butcher finally got the answer. Deliberate. Charlotte did it on purpose, he deliberately didn't kill the Homelander. Deliberately let the Homelander become the totem belief today. The purpose of doing so is not to fulfill the Homelander, but to use the Homelander to shatter the hope of all mankind. After understanding this, the butcher no longer cares about the deep hatred between himself and the Homelander. Compared with their personal grudges, Charlotte is obviously the real threat and the real terror. Originally, the butcher was thinking about letting Charlotte and the Homelander fight to the point of mutual destruction. But now, both lose. Is the Homelander also worthy? And under the premise that both cannot lose, who else can stop Charlotte? Who can defeat him? The butcher has no answer to this question. But he knows it now. The Homelander cannot die. If the Homelander dies, it will really be the end of the world. Thanks for watching.